if the direct mail campaign did not work after 90 days, could that be a market issue or a list issue?
Ooh, good question. I'm going to try and answer this as directly as possible without adding too much extra stuff into this answer. But so let me start this way. So I'll tackle the market side first. So if you're, and this kind of goes to like quantity of mail that I would recommend. So if you are in a major metro market, let's say million plus of people that live there, right? It's going to take a lot more mail to get a deal done. But typically the turnaround or the profit on those is a lot higher, right? Like I have a friend that he does mail in LA, Orange County, San Diego, like pretty expensive big markets. And it probably costs him like 8 to 10 grand to get a deal. But his wholesale fees are 100 grand. Their, flips are $300,000 of profit, right? So he's definitely sending a lot more mail to get that. So those are extreme cases also. But the way I look at it is like, if you're in a market that is, let's say, 1 million plus, you need to be sending anywhere from like 4,000 to 5,000 pieces of mail a month, typically, to get a deal. And that's pretty repeatable. There's going to be outliers like your LAs or your New Yorks and Manhattans, things like that. But for the rest of the country, like 1 million plus, 4,000 to 5,000 letters or postcards is typically where you want to be. If you're under 1 million and you're in more of like what you'd call a tertiary market, something that's maybe more suburban or more rural, not rural, but more like suburbs, like that kind of areas. Typically what we see is like 2,500 to 3,500 pieces of mail will get a deal done there. So those are pretty close to what we see. Now, if you're within those guidelines of these are the results or this is the amount of mail I'm sending out, and you're not getting deals, before I would look at the list issues, I would look at the internal processes that you have for two things. The first one would be is how is your follow-up? And are you consistent in your follow-up? Like Sherrod knows Ryan and I, like we're relentless with our follow-up. And that's why we get more deals than most people, is because like we send the contract to somebody, they view it, and we call them 15 minutes later. Hey, what questions did you have? Cool. Can I expect that coming over in, the next 10, 15 minutes or so? No? Okay. What questions do you have? Kind of go through that. Like our follow-up is very aggressive, but not to like the off-putting point, but we're there to like help them and make sure that we're going through. So our follow-up is very consistent in making sure that we're not dropping leads or we're not dropping the ball in places. And second is who is running those leads and what does their closing ability look like? Because ultimately, like, you could have the best marketing, the best leads, the best CRM to manage all of this, but really everything comes down to how well you can communicate with people, relate to people, and have them like you. And that's what's going to help you close more deals. Like we close in Louisiana, I can attest to it because of our team down there. Like we close more deals than other people down there because our guys are like thoroughbred Louisiana guys that just love talking to people. Like they're like not quite like the swamp people Cajun guys, but like they can act like that if they need to, but they're very just like down to earth. Everybody loves to talk to them. They're there having good conversations and helping solve problems. So those are kind of the first two things I would look at is, am I dropping the ball? Am I marking leads dead too soon? And because what we do is every lead that comes into our system, we follow up with it until they tell us, stop following up with me. Like, I don't want to hear from you again. Don't contact me again. Cool. Totally fine. When you're ready, just let me know. We're here to help. Other than that, like we have drip sequences, follow-ups, like we build it all out in Simply to where texting's been a little more challenging lately, but there's phone calls, there's manual tasks, there's all kinds of different follow-ups in there. And we still do include text messages in there, but we're always making sure that we're following up with those people. So that's where I would kind of look first. Lists, from a list issue standpoint, if you're pulling the data that we're pulling for you, or you're using a reputable data provider, typically it's good to try new lists. But the thing that I've seen is like sometimes people will accidentally put a filter on a list that shouldn't be there. We had someone recently that did owner occupied vacant properties was their list. Don't know how they did that. If it's vacant, nobody lives there. So you're sending mail to vacant properties, not to the actual forwarding address or the mailing address. Like they went from like 14 grand a deal down to 2 grand a deal when they made that switch. And it was just like a filter got messed up. Someone did something wrong and there was some issues because of it. So those are kind of the things that I would look at before I got to that point. But yeah, curious, Sherrod, what you would say with that.
Justin, real quick, doesn't mail automatically forward if that's the case?
Not necessarily. So it only automatically forwards if someone sets up a forwarding address. So like you would, like when you move and you do it on USPS, there's that automatic forwarding that has to actually be set up. If that's not, it's just going to sit in the mailbox.
Oh,
Yeah,
of
you'll
course,
get the
that should be
mailbox,
obvious. Yeah.
return to sender.
Yeah.
I would
Okay,
say,
yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, you want to start with you want to start with the right list. Let's say if you pull, I mean, it's happened, what Justin said, it's happened. I know other investors that instead of putting equity of 100%, they put LTV of 100%, and it just completely messed up their list. So if you accidentally pull a list of people that just bought their properties in last 6 months, for example, like really no amount of mail or marketing is going to get you a deal, because they just like, I bought the house that I live in. I just bought it 6 months ago. Like, it doesn't matter how much mail you send me, unless you're willing to overpay me, I'm not going to sell my house. So you want to start with the right list. If you have the right list, and then after 90 days or 3 mailings, you don't have a deal, or you don't have like good leads that you're working on, then there's something going on with the process. Either you're not following up enough, or if you're getting appointments, the person who's going on appointments is not doing the right job. So I would look at how many calls you're getting, first of all. If you're not getting enough calls, that's something is wrong with the list that you put. If you're getting decent calls, but you're not qualifying enough, then something is going on with the process, where someone calls and says, hey, I'm not interested. And you're saying, okay. Now, if they say they're not interested right now. Like, you want to qualify them, take them to the next stage, of the process.
Yeah.
And that would be the right list for the right marketing channel, right? Because that vacant homeowner or owner occupant makes sense. It just doesn't make sense for mail, but it would make sense for calling. It's the pain points are there.
Exactly.
Yep. And one other data that I'll share, looking at, recently, companies that are using recently, especially investors that are doing consistent deals, like 5, 10, dozens of deals a month, they're not all using direct mail they may not all be using direct mail as their primary marketing channel, but they all have some direct mail in their marketing. That's like one marketing channel that we notice consistently, investors that are doing consistent deals using as direct mail. Not everybody is using PPC, for example. Not everybody is using SMS, TV ads, radio ads, but pretty much everyone is using direct mail. A lot of people are using that as their primary marketing, but some are using that as an add-on to other things that they're doing. Like, we have a lot of investors, companies that are doing radio ads and TV ads, and they're supplementing that with direct mail. So that's one thing. Interestingly, we noticed that direct mail tends to be a common marketing channel across companies that are doing consistent deals.